Star Trek Prodigy was recently canceled and removed from Paramount Plus, as it seems like it's going to finish its second season on an entirely different streaming platform altogether. And it's obvious that Paramount Plus is trying to distance themselves from this little failure by not showing any promotional content for Star Trek Prodigy whatsoever at the recent San Diego Comic-Con. Streaming services, once thought to be the gold mine for future entertainment, are now suffering, with reports that by the end of 2022, the only major streaming services that were actually profitable were Hulu and Netflix. This means that the two leaders, arguably, for producing science fiction, Disney with Star Wars as well as Paramount Plus with the Star Trek franchise, means they're losing a lot of money, and they're compensating for this by trying to create new revenue streams, not in the best ways, by doubling down and forcing ads on viewers, and then also by canceling shows in the form of tax write-offs. Tax write-offs save these companies a significant amount of bread, and the worst part is that when they cancel these shows for tax write-offs, that means they no longer have to pay royalties to the people who actually acted and participated in producing these shows and movies. It's just a horrible practice, especially right now since we are in the middle of a Writers Guild strike. That is going to affect how I get my Star Trek in a timely manner, and that upsets me greatly. Please, let's start making money so that we can start paying the actors and the writers and we can get more Star Trek. Please pay them so that I can see my space shows. In light of this, I thought I would share a couple ideas that I had come up with on how to make the Star Trek franchise more profitable, and therefore making Paramount more profitable so that we can get more content, the writers can get paid, and the actors can get paid. We're trying to appeal to the younger generation, the people who are going to watch the show for years to come and want to spend their hard-earned cash on the merchandise that the show produces. First idea I came up with, and I think that this is my best one out of the three, is that Star Trek needs to start peddling vintage apparel. Over the years, there's been so many cool covers for books, so many awesome posters, really great art created for the Star Trek franchise, especially vintage TOS art regarding just the original series, the animated series, and the TOS movies. There is a lack of Star Trek vintage apparel in the natural market. If you go online, if you go to Facebook Marketplace, eBay, anywhere, you're not going to find a good selection of old, good-looking Star Trek shirts. I seriously have only seen one that was really cool. My entire life, my old coworker Tom had this really cool TOS shirt that made me really jealous. Go online right now. The t-shirts on Google are not only expensive, they're old, but even for the time, they just look cheap, and the graphics on them are terrible and look like they're going to fade if I put it in the washer just once. There is such a huge market for vintage apparel right now, especially with young people. The youngins love the old look of older franchises, older IPs. I'm recommended at least 3 times a day when I'm on social media, these different brands that just pop out of nowhere, and they repurpose designs from really popular animes and science fiction series and even horror movies. Some really popular ones: Dragon Ball Z, Hunter x Hunter, Hellraiser, Studio Ghibli, Slam Dunk, things like that. And if there are so many businesses that actually generate money by peddling these old vintage apparel that are actually new to young kids, I feel like Star Trek can do it too. We have a whole vault of really good vintage art that can be put on new, well-made, manufactured clothes. If you made graphic tees for $30 a pop and you put really cool old vintage Star Trek designs on them, I feel like they would sell like hotcakes. And to people that aren't even Star Trek fans, there are plenty of kids who wear vintage band shirts and vintage shows, and they don't even watch or consume the content, and it's just free promotion. Imagine having a bunch of kids just walking around wearing Star Trek shirts who haven't even seen the show. It would probably incline more people to just think Star Trek is cool, and they would want to watch it, or at the very least, get a shirt like that because they genuinely look cool. A company that Star Trek can take inspiration from and really follow in the footsteps is this really cool sports brand called Homage. I own one of their shirts. My friend Josh got me one. It's a yellow Justin Jefferson graphic tee, and I wore it at my last review. Really nice, high quality fabric. The design feels like it's not going to fall off for a decade or anything. It's not going to peel or fade. And there's a really cool little brand tag that's on the cuff of the sleeve of the shirt that I really like, and that could easily be replaced with a very tasteful Paramount mountain logo. I just think that this would be easy to do. We can just reprint old designs, and then when those sell, we can just see the ones that sell the best, and then we can just reincorporate and repurpose those designs, and then implement maybe modern Trek shows. Like, let's take a TOS movie poster, but instead let's parody it and make it look like Strange New Worlds or Lower Decks, and then sell that design. And things like this would definitely make Star Trek money. Number 2 on how to make Star Trek more money, make a board game. And specifically, when I say board game, I mean copy either Star Wars Legions or Warhammer 40k. I firmly believe that Star Trek is a perfect franchise, perfect IP to be turned into a tabletop minigame. They have so many different humanoid characters that can run around and be infantry. Imagine it playing like this. You have an infantry squad of Starfleet crewmen with phasers versus an infantry squad of Klingons with batleths, and their HQs are their captains. The senior staff can also be HQs like the engineer or the tech marine. We've seen evidence of buggies used in the Star Trek movies, so they can be used as land transports, and then the biggest units in the game, I imagine, will probably be runabout-sized shuttlecraft. There could be so many elements in the game that would be really fun. Like, imagine if you had a specialist crew unit that was a transporter crew that had transporter pylons, and then they would have like the Warhammer Deep Strike ability. And the Deep Strike ability is basically allows you to teleport anywhere on the map. The only rule is that you have to be 9 inches away from the enemy. It's a really useful tool for like teleporting strong units and getting them up close so they can wreak havoc. A tabletop game with the Alpha Quadrant factions warring against each other. We could have Romulans, humans, Klingons, and then maybe there would be a cool DLC pack where one day they would drop Dominion characters. I believe that would be a lot of fun, and at the end of the day, it doesn't have to be too hard. You could literally just copy other successful board games. I mean, Games Workshop themselves steal so much IP, taken the judges from the Dread graphic novels and called them Adeptus Arbites, and they still call them judges in the books and everything. So nobody cares, just steal other people's ideas and sell them as your own. It definitely works. And all I'm saying is that there is already a huge market for tabletop wargaming after COVID. There are so many new people that have gotten into miniatures and playing tabletop games to the point where it's a multi-billion-dollar market. And since Star Wars Legions is one of the more popular board games I'm seeing in that market, I feel like Star Trek can definitely join and tap in. And also, Star Trek fans are complete dorks and nerds like me, and they're just the perfect people who would want to buy a tabletop miniature game. Lastly, my biggest argument for why I think this is a good idea is because, in my opinion, I think that historically Star Trek merchandise has been lacking. I have spent many hours looking through Facebook Marketplace, eBay, trying to find cool old Star Trek merchandise, and I've pretty much seen it all at this point, and I have to say, guys, Playmates is just not cutting it for me. The only 3 products throughout the years that I can think of that truly deserve a good noodle star are, for one, the Rawcliffe pewter miniatures from 1991. Those are really cool. I want to pick up a whole set of those and paint them. The model ship kits they offer, but that's definitely very niche. I mean, how many people actually do want to put together a model starship? The new XO6 line of 1/6 scale replica figurines is just amazing. I have 2 of them, and I definitely am planning on picking up the Captain Christopher Pike figure when they drop it. They're amazing. They just really need to fix their female head sculpts. They're all kind of weird. Last idea on how to make Star Trek more profitable, and it is definitely my most subjective and worst one. I just think that we need a Star Trek series that is going to be geared towards an audience that's really going to generate a lot of money, and I think that we need a Star Trek show that's geared specifically towards boys with almost Shonen Jump-like elements. Star Trek Discovery was clearly their attempt attempt at marketing towards a future Gen Z audience. It is littered with LGBTQ themes, as well as having a very female-heavy cast. And I want to be very clear when I say no criticism to these elements. I love them. I believe they belong in modern Trek. But we have to be honest with ourselves and look at Star Trek Discovery and understand that there are many instances where they're explicitly trying to market towards a minority group, which is cool, and we definitely need to do that from time to time, but at the same time, you need to be making a conscious effort to appeal to the majority as well, or you're just not going to make the money you want. I hate to do any stereotyping when it comes to sex or gender, but I think we can all agree here when I say that historically, it has been men who have practiced irresponsible spending regarding their passion to their favorite media. I myself am more than willing to spend hundreds to thousands of dollars on really cool replica miniatures of characters that I enjoy from my favorite book series, shows, and movies. Shonen is a very popular Japanese media form that literally translates to for boys. Definitely heard of some of these series at least once in your life, like Naruto, Hunter x Hunter, and One Piece. If you can make a Star Trek show that really contrasts Discovery by providing us with themes that these young boys really crave, truly believe that we can generate a large, healthy fan base of people who are going to want to watch Star Trek and buy its merchandise for years to come. Now, I'm not saying making the science officer teleport around the bridge doing the Rasengan to a bunch of Romulans. I'm just saying that I think it's about time for another Deep Space Nine war-like drama. Literally do what Discovery did in Season 1. It was so good, but don't get rid of Captain Lorca and turn him into some phony. Don't go into the future and just keep on coming with those great, juicy, amazing, violent war scenes. Make a series, finally, that's 100% a prequel war drama. Like the Deep Space Nine Dominion War, but literally all 7 seasons. That is what we need. I'm not a doctor or anything. I just feel like that is a recipe for a show that is going to be appealing to a wider audience that is outside the Star Trek fandom, that is going to bring a lot of people into the fandom. Those are my ideas for how to make Star Trek more money in an age where streaming services are oversaturated and unprofitable. Let me know if you think my ideas are trash or not by leaving a comment down in the comment section below. They're my favorite aspect about YouTube. I love the interaction. If you're enjoying any of the content that you see on the channel, I'd be very flattered if you were to hit the subscribe button when we hit 10,000 subscribers. I'm going to dress up as my favorite Star Trek Xenos and go film a silly video out in public. Enjoyed the video, please slap a like on it. And with all that being said, hope you guys have a good rest of your week. Live long and prosper.